Wisdom Beneath the Surface by Sami Bsoul. Chapter 1. What you are about to read and listen to is not just a collection of thoughts. It is a call to the truth within you, a reminder of the power you already possess. It is an invitation to step beyond the surface and into the core of who you truly are, where the real transformation begins. What if everything you've ever believed about yourself was wrong? What if the person you think you are, the sum of your fears, your doubts, your successes and failures, was merely a shadow of the truth? What if, hidden beneath the layers you've built over the years, there is an untapped version of yourself waiting to be recognized, to be seen, not for who the world has shaped you to be, but for who you truly are? The world around you may be telling you who you should be, what you should want, how you should act. But what if the greatest freedom you could ever experience is not in becoming someone else, but in finally uncovering who you really are? What if, by simply letting go of everything you thought you knew, you could step into the power of your own truth? This is not a journey about becoming more of what you already are. This is about becoming the you that was always meant to be, a version that exists beyond the constraints of what you've been taught. This is a path to your own essence, and the truth is, you've always had the key. You've been told your whole life what you should do, what they say is right. But I'm not here for their rules. I'm here for your truth, the truth that has been buried deep inside you, screaming to be heard. You don't have time to waste. Life is demanding more from you than silence. It demands action. If you're waiting for permission to be who you are, stop. You are already enough. You are already ready. You've been told to find yourself, as if you are a treasure to be uncovered, buried somewhere deep. But here's the truth. You're not lost, not broken. No, you are the question and the answer, the key that unlocks every door, even the ones you've never dared to open. You've been waiting for a sign, when all along, you've been the sign. Your soul already knows the way, but it's been waiting for you to remember. You've been told for so long that you need to search for answers, as if they're hidden somewhere beyond your reach. But I'm here to tell you that you've always held the answers. The only thing you need is the courage to see what's right in front of you. Wisdom isn't in the finding, it's in the knowing. And the truth is, the mind that seeks answers is the very one that keeps itself from seeing the truth it already holds. What you seek is not buried, it's waiting to be recognized. This is not about acquiring knowledge. This is about remembering what you've always known. The greatest wisdom lies not in grasping, but in letting go of everything that tells you you're incomplete. Think of a tree. It doesn't try to grow. It simply exists in harmony with the forces around it. The wind shapes its branches. The sun nurtures its leaves. It knows that everything it needs is already within it, ready to unfold. It doesn't question its purpose, because it knows its purpose is to be. Why is it that you too cannot be like the tree? Why do you waste your energy looking outside yourself, when all that is needed is within you? You are not here to seek, to search, or to become anything. You are here to remember that everything you need, you already are. And in this remembering, you will find your power. So stop asking for permission to exist, to speak, to be you. You are the answer. You have always been. There's a place inside you, quieter than your thoughts, deeper than your heart, where all the answers you've been searching for have always lived. You may not have known it was there, but it's always been, waiting, watching, ready to whisper truths you've been afraid to hear, truths that feels so familiar, yet so new. Have you ever felt as though you're walking through life, but something is missing? Like you've been skimming the surface, never quite diving into the depths of who you are, into what you really feel. You've caught glimpses of something more, a wisdom that calls to you, that pulls at your soul, but you've been too distracted to listen. But what if you didn't have to search any longer? What if the wisdom you've been seeking wasn't out there at all, but within you, beneath the surface of everything you've been taught to believe? Imagine for a moment, feeling whole, not because of what you've achieved, not because of what the world sees, but because you've touched that quiet place within you, that space that has always known your true self, your true power. This audiobook isn't just another story to hear. It is an invitation to remember the depth within you, the part of you that knows, even when you've forgotten. It's an invitation to stop looking outward and start listening inward, to trust that you already have the wisdom you seek. It has always been waiting beneath the surface, beneath your doubts, your fears, your everyday noise. There's no need for frantic searching. There's no need to become someone you're not. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to be perfect. All you need is to take a moment and look, really look, at what's been here all along. That part of you that knows you are not broken. You are not lost. You are not less than anyone else. You have always been whole, even when you couldn't see it. And beneath all the distractions, beneath the weight of expectation and doubt, there is a stillness inside you that has the answers you've been craving. In this space, there are no judgments, no comparisons, no timelines or measures of success. There is only the truth of who you are, pure, untainted, and filled with the wisdom of the ages. It's waiting to be heard if you're willing to stop long enough to listen. So, listen. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let go of the need to rush, to figure it all out. In this moment, let yourself be. Let yourself sink into the quiet, into the knowing that everything you've been seeking is already inside. This is not an end, it is a return to the self you were meant to be, the self you always were. If you've been longing for a way to connect with your deeper truth, to uncover the wisdom that feels just out of reach, this audiobook is not just for you. It is from you. It's a reconnection to the wisdom beneath the surface, a bridge from your current reality to the deeper self that has always been there, waiting to be heard. This is your chance to remember, to embrace the parts of you that have been quietly whispering to you all along. You don't need to go anywhere or become anyone else. All you need to do is listen. And once you do, you'll discover a truth so simple, so pure, so profound, that you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. Chapter 2. You've walked many paths, seeking what has always been just beyond your reach. What if the truth isn't hidden? What if it's simply been waiting for you to notice? The quiet certainty that resides within you has never wavered, yet it waits, unspoken, unseen, until the moment you choose to see it. What if the answer was never in the search, but in the silence between your thoughts? It's easy to believe that wisdom is something earned, something to be acquired. But what if the real wisdom lies not in gaining, but in recognizing what has always been present? You see, the mind is a powerful thing, capable of endless quests, of chasing fleeting answers, of creating worlds. But the greatest power lies in its ability to step back and simply observe. Consider the ocean, vast, deep, and constant. It doesn't need to declare its presence. It simply is. Waves rise and fall, but the ocean remains. In stillness, it contains all movement. In silence, it speaks louder than any word ever could. And yet, how often do you find yourself searching the shores for something that was always within the depths? There is no need to chase, to conquer, to achieve what you already embody. The world spins around you, full of noise, full of expectation, and yet, in the stillness, there is a knowing, unspoken, unhurried, but undeniable. It has been here all along. It is not a destination. It is a way of being. No more searching, no more seeking, only recognizing what has always been present. Chapter 3. The mind, relentless in its pursuit, often leads you to believe that there's something just out of reach, something missing, and yet, when you pause, when you allow the noise to settle, you may notice that the very thing you sought is already there, unfolding quietly beneath the surface. Isn't it curious? We spend so much time looking outward, scanning for answers in places far away, when the very pulse of existence lies within what we've overlooked. Perhaps there is wisdom in the stillness, not as a destination, but as the foundation that has always been steady beneath our feet. The world around you hums with expectations, with demands, with a constant tug towards something. But amidst the noise, have you ever wondered what happens when the pull is simply let go? The things that once seemed essential, the striving, the reaching, the becoming, begin to lose their hold. What if the essence of life isn't in the chase, but in the quiet realization that all that you seek already moves through you? The question is not whether you will find it. The question is whether you will see it when it reveals itself. When you look at the night sky, do you see the stars or the space between them? Is it the light that catches your attention, or the vastness that makes it all possible? Perhaps, in the space between, the answers rest. The universe does not struggle to be, it simply is. And in that being, it holds all things. Could it be that in your own being, there is nothing you need to add, only to recognize what has always been present? A gentle truth, unforced, unhurried, and yet infinite in its depth. In this moment, what might unfold if you allow yourself to be as you are, without the need to become? Perhaps the simplest answers are the most profound, but only in the stillness will they ever be known. There is a truth inside of you that the world has tried to bury, a wisdom that exists not in the noise of everyday life, but in the quiet, in the stillness, in the spaces you have overlooked. Beneath the surface of your fears, your doubts, your struggles, there lies an incredible power, a knowing that has been with you from the very beginning. The world may try to drown it out with distractions, with expectations, with the never-ending rush to achieve. But deep down, you've always known. You are meant for more. We are all born with the ability to see beyond the surface, to perceive the layers of life that others are too afraid to confront. But somewhere along the way, we learn to look away, to settle for what is easy, what is expected, what is visible. We become conditioned to believe that the truth is something that can only be found outside of ourselves, through success, recognition, or the approval of others. But this truth is fleeting, shallow, and ultimately unfulfilling. The real truth, the kind that transforms lives, is found beneath the surface. It is not in the accolades, not in the fleeting moments of victory or validation, but in the quiet spaces where the soul speaks its deepest wisdom. It is in the moments when you are alone with your thoughts, when you peel away the layers of self-doubt and fear and come face to face with the power of your own truth. It is the truth that tells you you are enough, just as you are. To uncover this wisdom, you must first have the courage to look beyond the superficial, to see the world not just with your eyes, but with your heart, with the wisdom of your soul. You must be willing to ask the hard questions, the ones that make you uncomfortable, the ones that expose the rawness of who you are. And when you do, you will begin to discover what has been waiting for you all along, the wisdom that was never hidden, but simply waiting for you to see it. This wisdom is not loud. It does not shout for attention. It whispers to you in the quiet moments of your life, when you are still enough to listen. It shows up in the moments of silence, when the world around you falls away, and you are left with the truth of your own being. It is in those moments when you realize that all you've ever needed to be whole was already within you. To discover the wisdom beneath the surface is to uncover a profound inner peace. It is to let go of the constant striving, the need to prove, the search for external validation, and instead to trust in the inner knowing that guides you. It is to accept that the journey you are on is not about perfection. It is about acceptance, growth, and the courage to be who you truly are. As you dive beneath the surface, you will encounter your fears, your wounds, your insecurities. But know this: each of these is a teacher. Each of these moments holds a lesson, a key to unlocking more of the wisdom that resides within you. And when you embrace these truths, when you allow them to teach you rather than break you, you will step into a power unlike anything you've ever known. The wisdom beneath the surface is not reserved for a select few. It is available to everyone, waiting for you to open your heart and mind to it. The moment you decide to see beyond the surface, to let go of the mask you've been wearing, and to live in the truth of who you are, you will discover that the world is not what you thought it was. You will see life with new eyes, and everything that once seemed complicated will begin to make sense. This is your invitation, to dare to look beneath the surface, to dare to seek the truth that has always been within you. It is time to uncover the wisdom that you have been hiding from, to step into the fullness of your being, and to embrace the journey of self-discovery that leads to the most profound wisdom you will ever know, the wisdom of your soul. In this wisdom lies the key to everything you've been searching for: peace, power, love, and freedom. It has always been within you. The only thing you have to do is look deeper. Chapter 4. Wealth. People speak of it in terms of numbers, possessions, and status. But how often do they stop to question what true wealth really means? We measure our value by what we own, by the things we acquire, and yet the most precious riches are often invisible. In truth, the ones who cling to money as the measure of their worth may be the poorest among us. Poorest in experience, poorest in emotion, poorest in connection. Money, like a shadow, is constantly in motion, always fleeting, never steady. It promises security, but delivers only a hollow chase. What do you really gain when you possess it? A fleeting moment of satisfaction, perhaps. But wealth built on this foundation is fragile, easily eroded by time, by the change of circumstance. The richest men may be those who, when stripped of everything, still stand tall with the fullness of their heart intact. Consider those who have nothing in their pockets, but a heart full of gratitude, a mind filled with curiosity, and a soul that knows its purpose. Are they poor? Or is it those who live in constant want, whose emotional landscape is barren, whose relationships are transactional, that we should call truly impoverished. There is a quiet kind of wealth, one that cannot be bought, that cannot be held in your hands, yet it fills your life with meaning. The ability to give without expecting, to love without condition, to feel deeply, to connect without walls. This is the currency of the soul, and it is far more enduring than the fleeting sparkle of gold. The poor are not those who lack money. They are the ones who lack compassion, who measure their worth only by what can be counted. The richest people are those who know the value of a conversation, the wealth in a shared smile, the treasure in a genuine embrace. In the end, what is money, really? It's paper, it's metal, it's a number on a screen. But the love between two people, the feeling of belonging, the joy of giving, the peace in knowing you are enough, these are the true riches, and those who seek to collect only what can be seen are blind to what truly matters. Look within. What do you possess? What riches lie in your capacity to feel, to love, to experience? Those are the things that fill the soul with a wealth no bank can measure. When you learn to value the unseen, when you cultivate the riches of the heart, you will find that wealth is not something to be earned. It is something you already carry, and in that, you will be richer than you ever thought possible. Chapter 5. There is a curious thing about weakness. It hides itself so well. The ones who wear their armor the most are often the ones who fear the world most. The toughest exteriors are often built upon the thinnest foundations, and those who shout the loudest about their strength are often the ones who feel most fragile. It is not the strong who seek to prove their power, but the weak who are afraid that if they don't, they will be seen for what they truly are. Have you ever noticed how the ones who speak the most about confidence are often the ones with the deepest doubts? The ones who walk into a room with the loudest presence are sometimes the ones most afraid of being ignored. Their bravado is not a display of true strength, but a defense against something they fear, being exposed. The weak don't need to prove anything, because they know the only true strength is in acceptance. But it is the insecure who wear their toughness like a mask, hiding behind their walls. What happens when the toughest person in the room is actually the most vulnerable? What happens when their bravado is nothing more than a shield, a cry for validation, a defense against the fear of being seen for who they truly are? The weak, by nature, fear being judged. So they put on a face that demands respect, that commands attention. But what if true strength came not from being loud, but from being quiet? What if true power was in the ability to remain calm, composed, even in the face of adversity? The weakest people in the world often fight hardest to be seen as strong because they believe they are nothing without it. They forget that real strength doesn't need to be announced. It simply is. True strength comes in vulnerability, in knowing your limits and accepting them without the need to prove anything. And yet, it is the ones who most need to prove their toughness who will go to any length to hide their weakness. Why? Because they don't trust that they are enough without it. In the quietest corners, the most genuine strength resides. It doesn't need to shout or demand. It simply exists, unwavering, sure of itself, without the need for validation. The loudest person in the room may be fighting the hardest to remain unseen. The one who is always tough may be the one who is most fragile inside. And yet, if only they could let down their guard, they would realize that true strength isn't something you have to project. It's something you are when you stop pretending. When you encounter someone who is loud, proud, and overly tough, remember, their strength is often a mirror of their fear. The weakest don't need to act tough. They don't need to prove themselves. Strength lies in the courage to be seen for who you really are, without the armor, without the show, simply as you are. Chapter 6. One of the greatest mistakes a person can make is to underestimate others. We often look at someone's appearance, their demeanor, or the way they speak, and assume we know who they are, what they're capable of. But the truth is, people don't always show you their full selves. Beneath the surface, there is depth you can't see, complexity you can't measure with a glance. And when you assume you've figured someone out, you risk missing the most important part of them, the part that can surprise you. How many times have you encountered someone and thought, I know exactly who they are, only to be proven wrong later? We all make assumptions based on a snapshot, one moment, one interaction. But life is not a snapshot. It's a film. People are constantly evolving, shifting, growing. What you see at one moment is not the entirety of who they are. And when you fail to recognize that, when you box people into easy categories, you set yourself up for disappointment, and worse, missed opportunities. Underestimating others is a trap, a dangerous game of assumptions that can lead to careless words, disrespect, and regret. If you're not careful, you may say things you'll regret later about people you've never truly understood. And the worst part is, those words can never be unsaid. We all have stories, layers that can't be seen in a first impression. A person's outward expression doesn't always reflect the truth of their inner world. Someone who seems quiet or passive may be holding years of knowledge, experience, or strength. Someone who appears weak might possess resilience you can't fathom. It is easy to judge based on what is visible, but true understanding requires patience, curiosity, and the ability to see beyond the surface. When you underestimate someone, you not only devalue their potential, but you also limit your own growth, because everyone you meet, in one way or another, has something to teach you. And when you make judgments too quickly, you close the door to the possibility of learning something profound. The world is full of hidden depths, and the wise know to look beyond the surface to find them. What happens when you let go of the need to judge, to label people based on the first impression? What happens when you open yourself up to the possibility that there's more beneath the surface? Suddenly, everyone becomes a source of untapped wisdom, of potential you may have missed if you'd stuck to your assumptions. The quiet ones may speak the loudest truths. The humble ones may possess the greatest strength. In truth, we all wear masks, but the wise don't fall for them. They understand that every person they meet has layers they may never see, and that there's always more than what meets the eye. Chapter 7. True power doesn't come from building walls to shield you from the world. It comes from having the courage to show up, as you are, without pretense, without fear of judgment. Strength isn't about being invulnerable. It's about embracing your imperfections, standing firm in your truth, and giving others the space to do the same. There is a strange misconception that strength means being unbreakable. But the truth is, the strongest people are often those who have learned how to bend without breaking, to face the world with their flaws exposed. The beauty of vulnerability lies in its quiet strength. It allows us to connect, to heal, and to grow, both as individuals and in our relationships with others. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we open the door to true courage. Vulnerability isn't a sign of weakness. It's a choice to embrace life fully, without fear of what might be exposed. It's about showing up authentically in all your complexity. There is power in being open to both joy and pain. To feel deeply is to live fully. It is the ones who embrace the full spectrum of human experience, who accept both their strength and their vulnerability, who have the potential to make the most profound impact. When you stop pretending to be something you're not, you free yourself from the weight of expectation. You are no longer living to meet others' standards. You are living to meet your own. And in that space, you find the most authentic form of strength, one that needs no defense, no mask, only your unguarded self. Strength lies not in resistance, but in the grace with which you accept your own vulnerability. It is through vulnerability that you will find connection, compassion, and ultimately freedom. Because when you accept yourself, without defense, without walls, you will realize there is nothing you need to hide. Chapter 8. Relationships are the threads that weave the fabric of our lives. They shape who we are, challenge us to grow, and remind us of the beauty of connection. Yet, too often we take them for granted, expecting them to simply thrive without understanding the depth of care they require. True relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or familial, are not built on convenience. They are built on trust, mutual respect, and an openness to evolve together. It's easy to assume that a relationship, once established, will naturally flourish. But the truth is, relationships require constant attention, nurturing, and growth. They are dynamic, shifting with time, yet rooted in the same foundation of understanding and respect. We may think we know someone because we share moments with them, but real connection happens when we stop projecting our expectations and begin to listen, truly listen, to the other person's needs, desires, and fears. Relationships are not just about being together. They are about growing together. The most profound relationships are not those that are without conflict, but those that are marked by the ability to navigate challenges together. It is through facing adversity that bonds are strengthened, not through moments of ease. The willingness to face discomfort, to sit with differences, and to support one another through it all is what turns ordinary connections into extraordinary ones. What if every relationship you entered was a mirror, reflecting not only who the other person is, but also who you are becoming? What if you saw every conversation, every disagreement, every moment of understanding as an opportunity to deepen your connection and grow as a person? True relationships are built not on perfection, but on the willingness to show up fully, on understanding that growth is not linear and that the most beautiful connections are those that are nurtured with care, patience, and a shared commitment to evolve together. Chapter 9. The world you see is not the world that is. What you perceive is filtered through your own lens, shaped by experiences, beliefs, and assumptions that often go unnoticed. You see not reality itself, but your version of it, one that is uniquely yours. And yet, so often, we mistake our perception for truth, believing that what we see is all there is. Every moment you experience is colored by how you choose to perceive it. A smile can be interpreted as kindness or as insincerity. A situation can be viewed as an opportunity or as a challenge. The lens you look through determines everything. But how often do you stop to question that lens? How often do you ask yourself whether what you see is truly the whole picture or just a fragment of it? We walk through the world, interpreting everything based on our personal narrative. Yet, how many times have you been proven wrong, seen something from a new angle, and realized the depth you had missed? The truth is, perception is not fixed. It shifts, it changes, and it is entirely within your control. Imagine looking at the same object from different angles. From one side, it may appear solid, immovable. From another, it may seem delicate, fragile, and temporary. Yet it is the same object. Your perception of it shifts, and with it, your reality. The key is understanding that your perception is not a fixed mirror of the world. It is a filter that can either clarify or distort what you see. The danger comes when we stop questioning our perspective. When we believe that our view is the only one that matters, we limit ourselves. The truth is, there are always other perspectives, other truths that are just as valid as the one you hold. And the more you open yourself to these different views, the more expansive your understanding becomes. What would happen if you allowed yourself to see the world without the weight of your assumptions, without the filter of your past? What if you chose to see things as they are, not as you've been taught to see them? Your world would shift, subtly but profoundly. The people you meet would no longer be strangers to be judged, but opportunities to learn. The situations you face would no longer be obstacles, but invitations to grow. True wisdom lies not in clinging to your perception, but in the ability to see beyond it, to question, to expand, to evolve. The world is not as fixed as you may think, and your perception, if you allow it, can open the door to infinite possibilities. Your perception shapes your world, and that is both the power and the responsibility you hold. The next time you face something difficult or something you don't understand, pause. Ask yourself, is this the only way to see it? Is my perspective the only truth? In the space between your current view and a new one, there is the potential for transformation. And it is in that transformation that you will discover a reality that is richer, deeper, and more expansive than you ever thought possible. Chapter 10. There is something dangerous in the quiet erosion of respect that happens over time in our closest relationships. When we first meet someone, they are a mystery, a person full of intrigue, of untold stories and potential. We respect them for their uniqueness, their boundaries, their individuality. But what happens when that mystery fades? What happens when familiarity breeds not affection, but complacency? It is easy to think that knowing someone deeply means we have permission to take them for granted. That because we've seen their flaws, their vulnerabilities, their bad days, it somehow gives us the right to stop honoring them as we did in the beginning. But here lies the danger. In becoming too familiar, we forget the foundation that initially drew us to them, the respect for who they are. When respect fades, so does the connection. We no longer look at the other person with awe, with wonder. We begin to overlook the little things that once made them special, the qualities we once admired, the warmth, the admiration, the reverence that once existed turns into judgment, neglect, and even resentment. And, without respect, even the strongest bonds begin to fray. It's easy to assume that the bond we share with someone gives us the right to stop showing them the same courtesy, the same regard we gave when the relationship was new. But familiarity, rather than leading to deeper connection, can often lead to a silent, gradual devaluation of the person. It's the little things, overlooking their needs, disregarding their opinions, expecting them to always understand, without showing them the same kindness you once did. The truth is, respect isn't something that should fade with time. It's not something we only give to strangers or people we want to impress. Respect is the foundation of any strong relationship. It should be constant, not dependent on how familiar we become with the person, but on honoring who they are every day. What if we took a moment to reflect on the relationships where we've allowed respect to slip away? What if we saw the people we are closest to, not as someone we know too well, but as a person deserving of the same respect we gave them when they were a mystery to us? What if, Instead of letting familiarity breed contempt, we allowed it to deepen our admiration, our appreciation, our respect. The greatest gift we can give to those we love is the ongoing gift of respect. It is a daily choice to honor them, to cherish them, not because we need to impress them, but because they matter, because who they are deserves our reverence every single day. Never let the familiarity of knowing someone erode the respect you once held for them. For, without respect, we lose the very essence of the relationship itself. Chapter 11. Self-worth is not something you gain. It's something you realize. It's the quiet understanding that you are enough, not because of what you do, not because of how you're perceived, but simply because you exist. Yet, so many of us spend our lives searching for validation from others, seeking external approval, while the truth lies quietly within us all along. We live in a world that constantly measures worth through achievement, appearance, and approval. But is that really what defines who you are? The truth is, we often place our worth in things that are fleeting: success, material possessions, the opinions of others. And when these things fall away, as they always do, we are left with the question, what is left? What is your worth when all the external markers disappear? Self-worth is not something that can be built on what you achieve or how others see you. It's the realization that you are valuable, regardless of the outside world. It's about understanding that your worth isn't conditional, it's inherent. The more you tie your self-worth to external factors, the more fragile it becomes. If your value is tied to what others think of you or what you accomplish, what happens when you fall short, or when others turn their gaze away? Your worth becomes a fleeting thing, subject to the whims of circumstances and opinions. But when you understand that your worth is not dependent on what you do or how you look, you find a solid foundation, a self-understanding that is independent of the world around you. It's a quiet knowing that you are enough, always. What would happen if you stopped seeking external validation? What if you could look in the mirror and know, without a doubt, that you are worthy of love, success, peace, and happiness, not because of your accomplishments, but simply because you are you? Self-worth is not about becoming something more. It's about realizing that you are already everything you need to be. It's the freedom to let go of the need to prove yourself to the world, and instead, embrace the truth that you are enough in every moment. The greatest act of self-love is recognizing your worth without needing it to be confirmed by anyone or anything. It is the quiet confidence that comes from within, knowing that you are valuable simply because you exist. And in that realization, you unlock the kind of peace and freedom that no external success or approval can ever provide. Chapter 12. In a world saturated with images, successes, and curated lives, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison. We scroll, we observe, and we measure ourselves against the lives of others, believing that someone else's path is the benchmark for our own. But what if the greatest enemy to your peace is not the world around you, but the constant need to compare your life to others? We all do it. We look at someone else's life and think, why isn't mine like that? Why haven't I achieved that? Why do they seem so much further ahead? Comparison seems innocent at first, a passing thought, but it eats away at our confidence, our sense of self-worth, and our inner peace. What we forget in those moments is that every life is unique, and every path is different. The truth is, the more we compare ourselves to others, the less we see of our own worth. We start to measure our lives by external standards, by achievements, appearances, possessions, and forget to appreciate the beauty and value in our own journey. The reality is, someone else's success does not diminish your own potential. Their story is not your story. When we compare, we rob ourselves of the ability to see how far we've come. We lose sight of the progress we've made and the unique qualities that define us. Instead of celebrating what's true about our own path, we find ourselves lost in someone else's narrative, believing that their success means we've somehow fallen short. What if, instead of measuring yourself against someone else's success, you measured your own growth? What if you could look at your journey not through the lens of comparison, but through the lens of self-reflection? What would it look like to appreciate your own evolution without the need for external validation? Think of the times in your life when you've been most at peace with yourself. Chances are, those were the times when you weren't looking outward for validation or measuring your worth against someone else. What if you could return to that sense of peace? What if the secret to true happiness wasn't in becoming someone else, but in embracing who you are, exactly as you are? The danger of comparison is that it distracts you from your own greatness. It makes you forget that your worth is not determined by how you stack up to someone else's life. Your journey is yours alone, unique, rich with its own lessons, and filled with opportunities to grow. Chapter 13. Time is the one thing you cannot see, cannot touch, and yet it is the most palpable force in your life. It runs through your fingers like sand, slips past your every effort to hold it still. We speak of it as if it is an enemy, a thief, something to be fought. But in truth, time is neither friend nor foe. It simply is. It exists, relentless in its flow, unaffected by your complaints or desires. Why do you rush? Why do you chase it? As if it can be caught, as if there is an end to this endless march. You say you don't have enough time, but time doesn't change. It is your perception of it that shifts. The clock ticks the same way for all, yet it feels like it moves slower for some and faster for others. What if the illusion of time is the true source of your anxiety? We are constantly looking ahead, waiting for a moment that will never arrive. The right time, the perfect moment, the future that promises what the present cannot offer. But in doing so, we miss the only thing that ever truly exists, the present, the moment that is already here, slipping by unnoticed while we strain our eyes to see what's coming. Imagine standing at the edge of the ocean, the waves rolling in, each one a mark of time past. Does the ocean fight the waves? Does it rush them to the shore? No, it simply accepts them as they come and as they go. Time, like the ocean, cannot be controlled. It moves in its own rhythm, and yet you spend so much of your energy trying to control it, trying to make it bend to your will. The truth is, you are already where you need to be. The present moment is not a waiting room. It is the space where everything happens. There is no better time than now. It is the only time you can truly live in, and the only one that ever truly exists. Perhaps, instead of fighting time, you should surrender to it. Let it carry you, not as a burden, but as a current. It doesn't need to be beaten. It needs to be experienced. For in that experience, you may find that time, like all things, is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. The clock will keep ticking, and so will you. But will you spend your life chasing the minutes, or will you learn to live inside them? Will you hold on to time, or will you let time hold you? You are not in control of time, nor are you meant to be. Time is the great equalizer. It is not something that waits for you. It flows with or without you. The question is, how will you choose to experience it? Will you see it as your enemy, or will you find your freedom within it? Chapter 14. Purpose is not something you find. It is something you recognize. It's not an external achievement, but an inner knowing that the life you're living matters, that it has meaning, that you are contributing to something greater than yourself. And yet, so many spend their lives chasing it, as though it's something out there, waiting to be discovered, when in truth, it has always been within them. We're often taught that purpose is something grand, something to be earned, something to define us in a monumental way, so we look for it in careers, in accolades, in achievements. But what if we've been looking in the wrong places all along? What if purpose wasn't something to be chased, but something to be realized, something that is already present in every moment of our lives? Purpose is not about creating something out of nothing. It's about seeing the meaning in what's already there. It's about recognizing that every act, no matter how small, contributes to the greater picture. That the simple moments, the quiet actions, the connections we make, are all part of a larger narrative. Purpose is often hidden in plain sight. It's not always loud, not always life-changing, but it's there, in every choice you make, in every person you meet, in every challenge you face. Purpose isn't always a singular path. It's a tapestry of moments that come together to form a life lived with meaning, and the more you tune into the present, the more you begin to see that your purpose is woven through the everyday things you do. What if your purpose was not to change the world, but to be fully present in it, to live with intention, to act with kindness, to seek growth in every experience? Purpose doesn't need to be grand, it needs to be real. Imagine a life where you no longer feel the need to prove your purpose, a life where you simply know that every moment, every interaction, every challenge is part of something greater. What if, instead of waiting for purpose to arrive, you chose to live each day as though it already held the answers? Would you feel more connected to what matters, more aligned with your true self? Purpose is not a destination, it is a direction. It's a way of being, a way of living, that aligns your actions with your deepest values. Chapter 15. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is the messenger. It shows you what matters most, where your growth lies, and what needs to be faced in order for you to evolve. But too often, we run from it, avoid it, or let it control us. We think of fear as a wall, something that stops us in our tracks. But in reality, it is a door, if only we dare to open it. We are taught from an early age to fear fear itself. It's painted as something dangerous, something to be avoided at all costs. But the truth is, fear is a natural response, a part of the human experience. It is not something to eradicate, it is something to understand. Fear only holds power over us when we let it define our actions. What if fear wasn't something to be afraid of? What if it was a signal, pointing us toward the areas in our lives where change and growth are most needed? Instead of seeing fear as a threat, we could start seeing it as an invitation to go deeper, to push boundaries, and to take the steps toward the unknown that are often the most transformative. Every major breakthrough in life comes with fear. Whether it's speaking your truth, taking a risk, or stepping into the unknown, fear is always there, lurking in the background. It is the companion of every step toward growth. But when you face it head on, when you embrace it instead of run from it, you realize that it's not the obstacle you thought it was. Fear, in its rawest form, is simply energy. It is what you make of it that determines its power over you. Fear has the power to paralyze, yes, but it also has the power to propel. It is the spark of inspiration for courage, for boldness, for action. The more you resist it, the more it controls you, but the more you accept it, the more it transforms into fuel for your progress. What if, instead of seeing fear as a force working against you, you saw it as the energy that pushes you into action, into growth, and into your true potential? What if fear was the very thing that motivated you to do the things you've always wanted to do, but were too afraid to try? Fear does not define you. It does not have the power to stop you unless you give it that power. When you recognize fear for what it truly is, a guide, not a barrier, you can move through it with confidence. Fear is not something to escape. It is something to face, to understand, and ultimately to transcend. Chapter 16. Change is not something to be feared. It is something to be embraced. It is the one constant in our lives, the force that propels us forward, the catalyst for growth and transformation. Yet, we often resist it, clinging to the familiar, even when it no longer serves us. But what if the key to a richer, more fulfilling life lay not in holding on, but in letting go? Change often comes with discomfort, with uncertainty. It pushes us out of our comfort zones, challenges our beliefs, and forces us to question everything we thought we knew. And yet, in those moments of discomfort, when everything seems to be shifting beneath our feet, we are presented with the opportunity to evolve. The question isn't whether change will come, it's how we respond when it does. What would happen if you stopped resisting change? What if you could see it not as a threat, but as a path to something greater? Change, in its essence, is not about loss. It's about transformation. It's about shedding old skin to reveal a new version of yourself, one that is stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your true path. Every significant moment in life, every breakthrough, every new beginning comes with change. Think of the times when you've been forced to step into the unknown, to face a challenge or a transition. In those moments, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, to wonder if you're capable of navigating what's ahead. But change, when embraced, becomes an engine of personal evolution. It forces us to grow in ways we never could have imagined. But growth doesn't happen without discomfort. The process of change is often messy, imperfect, and full of unknowns. Yet, it's this very uncertainty that fosters creativity, resilience, and strength. The more you lean into change, the more you realize that it isn't something that happens to you, it's something that happens for you. Imagine a life where you no longer feared change. What if you could move through every transition, whether big or small, with grace, trust, and an open heart? What if you could see every shift in your life as an opportunity to reinvent, to grow, to step into a version of yourself that is more authentic, more expansive, more alive? Change is not the enemy. It is the great facilitator of transformation. It's the force that frees you from the past, that clears the way for new possibilities. Chapter 17. Resilience is not about avoiding hardship. It's about how we respond to it. It's not about never falling down, but about rising again each time we do. The strongest among us are not those who have never faced adversity, but those who, despite the storms, continue to move forward with unwavering resolve. Life doesn't follow a straight path. There are twists, turns, and obstacles we can't predict. We are faced with loss, failure, rejection, and pain. But these challenges don't define us. What defines us is how we respond, how we find the courage to get up, even when we feel like staying down, and how we keep going, even when the road ahead seems impossible. Resilience is the ability to bend without breaking. It is the quiet strength that lies in perseverance, in the will to continue, even when the circumstances around you seem bleak. It's about believing that the hardship you face today does not determine who you will be tomorrow. Resilience doesn't come from avoiding difficulty. It comes from embracing it. Every time you face adversity and push through, you become stronger, more capable, and more grounded in who you are. The key is not in never falling, but in knowing that you have the strength to rise again. Each challenge is an opportunity to redefine your limits, to stretch beyond what you thought was possible. The most resilient people are not those who have never faced hardship, but those who have learned how to grow through it, how to find meaning in their struggle, and how to emerge stronger on the other side. Resilience is a mindset. It's the understanding that everything you experience, good or bad, is shaping you into a more complete version of yourself. What if every challenge you face was not an obstacle, but a stepping stone to your greater self? What if every setback was an opportunity to build your resilience, to strengthen your spirit, and to deepen your understanding of your own power? How would you move through life differently if you saw adversity not as a force working against you, but as a force working for you? Resilience is the quiet strength that carries you through life's toughest moments. It is the courage to keep moving forward when the path seems uncertain, and the faith that every setback is not the end, but simply a detour on the way to something greater. So, when life knocks you down, don't ask why it happened. Ask how you will rise from it, because your resilience is the greatest gift you have, and it will carry you farther than you ever imagined. Chapter 18. Authenticity is not a trend or a buzzword. It is the essence of who you truly are, stripped of expectation, societal pressures, and self-doubt. It is the courage to show up in the world as your most honest self, without fear of judgment or rejection. In a world that often tells you who you should be, authenticity is the silent rebellion that sets you free. There is an unspoken power in living authentically. When you let go of the need to be something you're not, you step into a space of true freedom. The world may push you to conform, to fit into molds that weren't made for you, but authenticity is about rejecting that pressure and honoring your own truth. Being authentic means acknowledging your flaws, your strengths, your quirks, and your passions, and owning them unapologetically. It's the refusal to be anyone other than yourself, even when the world might offer you 100 ways to pretend to be someone else. It is the ultimate form of self-respect and self-love. We are often taught to mold ourselves into who we think others want us to be. We wear masks, build personas, and chase external validation in the hopes of fitting in or gaining approval. But in doing so, we lose the very thing that makes us unique, our authenticity. The truth is, the more you try to be someone else, the more disconnected you become from who you really are. Authenticity is not about perfection. It's about honesty. It's about showing up with all your rawness, all your contradictions, and all your beauty, and trusting that your real self is enough. It is the courage to embrace the parts of yourself you may have been hiding, and to allow those parts to shine, unashamed and unafraid. Imagine a life where you didn't have to pretend, What would it feel like to walk through the world with the quiet confidence of knowing you are exactly who you were meant to be? What if every relationship, every decision, every step you took was grounded in the truth of your authentic self? How much lighter, freer, and more powerful would you feel? Authenticity is not a destination, but a practice. It is a daily choice to show up as your true self, without fear, without compromise. The more you embrace your authenticity, the more you will attract the people and experiences that are aligned with your true essence. Chapter 19. The past is a heavy cloak we often wear, believing that its weight defines us, shapes us, or somehow holds us together. We cling to the memories, the mistakes, the pain, as though they are pieces of us that we cannot live without. But what if the only thing holding us back is not what has happened, but the unwillingness to let it go? We all have a past, a collection of experiences, choices, and moments that have brought us to where we are today. And yet, many of us carry this past like an anchor, weighing us down, preventing us from moving forward. We replay old wounds, revisit old regrets, and allow our mistakes to define our future. But the truth is, the past is not your prison. The present is where your power lies. Letting go of the past is not about forgetting it. It's about freeing yourself from its grip. It's about releasing the hold that old hurts, old stories, and old fears have on your soul, so that you can step into a new chapter, unburdened and whole. Every moment you hold on to the past, you rob yourself of the opportunity to fully experience the beauty of the now. The weight of the past is not physical. It is emotional, psychological. It is the resentment we hold, the regrets we harbor, the fear of making the same mistakes again. These emotions cloud our ability to see clearly and prevent us from embracing the present moment with open arms. But imagine the freedom that comes with releasing that weight. Imagine a life where you are no longer defined by what has already been, but by what you choose to create now. Letting go doesn't mean erasing the past. It means making peace with it. It means accepting that while it has shaped who you are, it does not have to dictate who you will become. When you let go of the past, you make space for growth, for healing, and for new possibilities to enter your life. What would it feel like to wake up tomorrow and leave behind the baggage of old hurts and regrets? What if you could see yourself not as a collection of past mistakes, but as someone capable of reinvention, of growth, of starting anew at any moment? How much lighter would you feel if you no longer allowed the past to cast a shadow over your present? Letting go is not about losing the past. It's about freeing yourself from it. It is the act of recognizing that the past has served its purpose and now it is time to move on. You don't need to carry its weight to move forward. In fact, you must release it to truly live. The freedom you seek is not found in clinging to what was. It is found in embracing what is and what can be. Chapter 20. We spend so much of our lives trying to control the uncontrollable, trying to bend time, people, and circumstances to our will. We believe that control is the answer to life's uncertainties, that if we can just manage every detail, everything will fall into place. But what if the real answer lies not in controlling the world around us, but in letting go of the need to control it at all? From the smallest decisions to the biggest moments, we are taught that control is power. We think that by managing everything, we will find security, predictability, and peace. But the truth is, control is an illusion. Life is unpredictable. People are unpredictable. And the more we try to force things into our own idea of how they should be, the more we miss out on what's truly happening in the present. The key to peace is not in controlling every aspect of our lives. It's in accepting that we can't control everything, and that this uncertainty is not a threat to our well-being. It's a natural part of the journey. In fact, it's in letting go of control that we discover our greatest strength, the ability to adapt, to flow, and to embrace life's mysteries as they come. Control creates resistance. When we try to force outcomes, when we insist on having things our way, we create friction, not only with the world, but with ourselves. We end up living in a constant state of stress, fear, and anxiety, trying to make everything fit into a specific box. The irony is, by trying to control everything, we lose the freedom to experience life as it is. When we let go of the illusion of control, we free ourselves from the pressure of perfection. We allow space for the unknown, for creativity, for spontaneity. We begin to trust that things will unfold as they are meant to, even if we can't predict the outcome. And in that trust, we find the freedom to live with greater ease and peace. What if, instead of trying to control every situation, you allowed life to unfold naturally? What if you embraced uncertainty instead of fearing it? How much more peaceful, free, and open would you feel if you stopped trying to force things to happen and instead allowed them to come in their own time, in their own way? The illusion of control is a burden we often carry without realizing its weight. When we let go of the need to control every detail, we free ourselves to experience life more fully. Chapter 21. Silence is often misunderstood. It is not the absence of sound, nor is it a void to be filled. Silence is a force, a presence that speaks louder than any words. In a world that thrives on noise, where every moment is filled with chatter, distraction, and constant movement, silence can be the most profound form of expression. But it's not always understood. Silence, when truly embraced, reveals more than what is said. It allows you to hear what the world can't speak and feel what the mind often overlooks. We fear silence. We fill the gaps with noise, with activity, with distractions, because the stillness often brings us face to face with things we'd rather avoid. In silence, we are left with only ourselves, our thoughts, our emotions, our vulnerabilities. It's easy to drown them out with words, with busyness, but in doing so, we miss the power that silence has to offer. Think about the moments when you've truly experienced silence, not the quiet of a room, but the stillness of your own mind. In those moments, you find clarity, you find truth, you find yourself. The world, with all its noise, often drowns out the answers you're seeking. But silence, the quiet, unspoken truth, lets you hear what you've been avoiding, the wisdom you've been ignoring. Silence isn't about retreating from the world. It's about stepping into a deeper understanding of it. It's about learning to listen to the things that can't be articulated in words. The pause between thoughts, the spaces between conversations, the breath between heartbeats. All these moments are filled with meaning if you choose to stop and notice. Consider how powerful a single pause can be. In a conversation, the right silence can speak volumes. It can convey understanding, empathy, and presence without a single word. In relationships, silence isn't the absence of connection. It's the foundation of true understanding. There's power in knowing when to listen, when to reflect, and when to simply be. Because sometimes the most important things are the ones that can't be spoken at all. The world is constantly asking you to fill space, to make noise, to be seen. But in doing so, we forget the profound strength that lies in silence. It's in the spaces between the noise that the soul can breathe, that the heart can feel. When you allow silence to be a part of your life, you stop seeking validation through words and start finding validation in being. It is in silence that the deepest truths are revealed, not through force, but through presence. Silence is not emptiness, it is fullness waiting to be discovered. It holds the potential of all things, and in it you find clarity, peace, and understanding. Chapter 22. In a world that thrives on instant gratification, patience has become a rare and undervalued virtue. We want everything now: success, love, peace, without understanding that true growth, true fulfillment, is never instant. Patience is not about waiting. It is about knowing that what is meant for you will come at the right time, and in the meantime, trusting the process. We live in an age of immediacy. We send a message and expect a response within seconds. We chase success and expect it to come quickly. We want answers fast, results faster, and resolutions even faster still. But when we constantly demand immediate outcomes, we forget that the most meaningful and lasting things in life take time. Patience is not passive. It is a quiet form of strength. Patience is the ability to trust the unfolding of life, even when the path is unclear. It's about understanding that everything happens in its own time, and that rushing through the process often means missing the lessons along the way. The art of patience is knowing that the wait is not a delay. It is an opportunity for growth, reflection, and preparation. When we rush through life, we rob ourselves of the experience. The impatience that often bubbles within us is a reflection of our desire for certainty, for control. We want to know the outcome before we've even begun the journey, but the truth is, the best outcomes are often the ones we didn't force. They are the ones that emerge when we stop pushing and allow them to come to us naturally. Patience is a reminder that everything has its season. It teaches us to trust that the effort we put into the present moment will bear fruit in the future, even if we can't see it yet. Patience requires faith, not faith in outcomes, but in the process itself. It's the quiet belief that life, in its own time, will unfold exactly as it should. What would it feel like to embrace patience in every aspect of your life? What if, instead of chasing after every goal and every desire, you allowed them to come to you at their own pace? How would your life change if you trusted that the right things will arrive at the right time, and that you are already on the right path? Chapter 23. In a world that constantly demands more from us, it's easy to forget one simple truth. You are worthy of the same kindness and understanding that you extend to others. Yet, too often, we treat ourselves with the harshest judgment, forgetting that the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. How often do you find yourself being your own harshest critic? How often do you replay your mistakes, overanalyze your shortcomings, and tell yourself that you're not enough? We are quick to extend compassion to those around us, offering our support to friends, family, and even strangers. But when it comes to ourselves, we hold ourselves to impossible standards, thinking that self-criticism will somehow lead to improvement. The truth is, self-compassion is not a weakness. It is a strength. It is the ability to treat yourself with the same understanding, care, and patience that you offer others, even in moments of failure or difficulty. When you show yourself compassion, you give yourself permission to be human, to learn from your mistakes, and to grow without the burden of self-loathing. Self-compassion is not about indulging in self-pity or making excuses for our behavior. It's about recognizing that we are imperfect, and that imperfection is part of being human. Just as we would never tell a friend that their mistakes define them, we should not allow our own mistakes to define us. It is only by offering ourselves kindness, especially when we falter, that we give ourselves the space to learn, grow, and evolve. When you practice self-compassion, you release the weight of self-judgment and open yourself to the possibility of change. You stop believing that you have to be perfect to be worthy of love and acceptance. Instead, you embrace your flaws as part of your story, understanding that each misstep is a chance to grow, to evolve, and to become more aligned with your true self. What if you could learn to forgive yourself with the same grace that you forgive others? What if, instead of seeing your mistakes as failures, you saw them as lessons? How much lighter would you feel if you could look at yourself with the same compassion that you give to those you love? Self-compassion is not about excusing mistakes. It's about embracing yourself in spite of them. It's the understanding that you are worthy of love, kindness, and patience, even when you fall short. When you treat yourself with compassion, you create the inner strength to face life's challenges with resilience, and the peace to know that you are enough, just as you are. For a deeper journey, listen to The Forgotten Art of Self-Compassion, your free audiobook to heal, love, and transform. You'll find more book links in the video description below.